The small vessel approached the strange new world, slipping through wisps of purple clouds as it descended. Commander Jun Park stood at the viewport, hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien landscape grow larger beneath them. After 3 years of travel, Proxima Centauri was no longer just a mission briefing or a distant point of light. It was real. "Final approach sequence initiated," said pilot Da Kim, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "Touchdown in 4 minutes." June nodded, his face calm despite the butterflies in his stomach. This was humanity's first contact with an intelligent alien species. Everything they did from this moment would be recorded in history books. "Life support readings?" he asked, turning to Science Officer Hyun Kim. "Atmosphere matches our projections. Slightly higher oxygen content than Earth, trace noble gases, but nothing harmful to humans." Hyun didn't look up from her screens, her dark eyes reflecting scrolling data. "The Centaurians are gathering near our landing site. I count at least 50 individuals." Dr. Minji Lee joined them at the viewport, her tablet clutched to her chest. As the expedition's xenoanthropologist, she had spent the journey studying the limited data they had on the Centaurians. "Remember what we discussed," she said quietly. "Their translucent skin appears to change color with their emotional states. Blue tones seem to indicate calm or curiosity. Red might signal agitation or excitement. We're still guessing, but try to be mindful of your reactions." The ship touched down with a gentle thud. Outside, the gathered aliens shifted, their skin rippling with waves of blue and green. They were tall and slender, with elongated limbs and large almond-shaped eyes. Their skin was indeed translucent, revealing shadowy outlines of internal structures. "They're beautiful," whispered Communications Officer Sun Young. June took a deep breath. "Final equipment check. Remember, we're guests here. We follow protocol." He adjusted his uniform and nodded to Security Chief Ta Jun. "Let's make a good impression." The airlock cycled open, and Earth's first official diplomatic team stepped onto alien soil. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and ozone. 2 suns hung in the sky, one large and orange, the other small and distant. The Centaurians kept their distance, forming a half-circle around the landing site. Their skin pulsed with colors, information passing between them in patterns June couldn't begin to understand. Finally, one stepped forward, taller than the others, with skin that shimmered with golden patterns overlaying the blue. "Welcome," came a voice in their earpieces, the translation software working to convert the musical tones and color shifts into human language. "I am Eun, appointed to guide your people." June stepped forward, hands open in the gesture they had practiced. "We come in peace from Earth. I am Commander Jun Park. We are honored to meet you." Eun's skin rippled with new patterns. "You traveled far. Your journey must have been difficult." "Worth every moment," Jun replied, smiling cautiously. Over the next few hours, the humans established their base camp on the edge of the Centaurian settlement. The aliens watched with obvious curiosity as they set up equipment and shelters. "They're studying us as much as we're studying them," Minji observed as she helped June set up his command tent. "Notice how they mirror our movements. They're learning." The first day passed in careful, measured interactions. The Centaurians brought gifts, strange crystalline structures that hummed faintly when touched, and fruits with swirling patterns beneath translucent skin that matched their own. As night fell on the alien world, casting everything in the purple glow of its larger moon, Jun called his team together. "First impressions," he asked, looking around the circle. "Their technology is at least as advanced as ours, maybe more so," Hyun reported. "I've detected energy signatures that suggest fusion power, but contained in ways we haven't mastered yet." "Their language is fascinating," Sun added. "It's not just vocal. The color patterns in their skin carry meaning too. The translator is catching maybe 60% at best." Minji nodded. "They appear to value openness. Have you noticed they have no doors? No obvious privacy barriers in their structures. And they seem confused by our tents." Confused how? June asked. When I was setting up the medical station, one of them, I think they're called bin, kept pointing at the walls and making these questioning sounds. When I tried to explain the concept of privacy, their skin turned this mottled gray I haven't seen before. Ta Jun, ever the security chief, frowned. Could be a vulnerability. They might not understand boundaries the way we do. Or it could be a cultural difference we need to respect, Minji countered. We can't apply human standards here. Jun held up his hands. We'll proceed carefully. Tomorrow, Minji and I will meet with Yun for the formal introduction ceremony they've requested. The rest of you continue setting up base and collecting data. Later that night, Jun sat alone in his tent, recording the day's events. Outside, the strange calls of alien wildlife echoed across the plain. Everything was new here. The air, the light, the gravity that felt just slightly too light with each step. He was about to turn in when a soft chiming sound came from outside his tent. Come in, he called, expecting one of his team. Instead, Yun entered, ducking slightly under the entrance flap. Up close, their alien nature was even more apparent. Yun's fingers were long and had an extra joint, and those large eyes had no visible pupils, just swirling patterns of color that matched the skin. Forgive intrusion, Yun said, the translator making their musical speech into something Jun could understand. Tomorrow is important day. I bring knowledge to prepare you. I appreciate that, Jun said, offering a seat. Yun remained standing, head tilted in curiosity. Your species builds walls between each other. Even here, you separate yourselves. This is difficult for us to understand. Jun considered his words carefully. Humans value personal space. It helps us feel secure, especially in new situations. Walls suggest secrets, Yun said, skin flickering with yellow patterns. Among my people, secrets are unwelcome. For tomorrow's ceremony, expectations will be different. I worry you may find our customs strange. Cultural differences are why we're here, Jun replied with a smile. To learn from each other. Yun's skin pulsed with what Jun hoped was agreement. Rest now. Tomorrow begins true understanding between our worlds. As the alien left, Jun couldn't shake a feeling of unease. What exactly were these different expectations? He made a mental note to speak with Minji first thing in the morning. First contact was going well, but the real challenges of understanding an alien culture were just beginning. 2 weeks had passed since the humans' arrival on Proxima Centauri B. The small Earth expedition had settled into a routine, venturing out each day to learn more about the Centaurians and their world. Commander Jun Park sat cross-legged on a cushion inside a round Centaurian meeting structure. Across from him, Yun waited patiently, skin rippling with gentle blue patterns. You said your people have visited 12 other worlds, Jun asked, sipping the warm drink the Centaurians had offered. It tasted like honey and mint, with a strange aftertaste he couldn't place. Yes, Yun confirmed. None with intelligent life like yours. Mostly we study plants and simple animals. Your arrival was unexpected but welcome. Jun nodded, making notes on his tablet. These daily meetings with Yun had become the highlight of his mission. While other team members collected scientific data, he focused on understanding Centaurian society and building diplomatic ties. I notice your species values covering yourselves, Yun observed suddenly, her skin rippling with curious purple patterns. Even in the heat of midday, Jun shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the first time Yun had commented on human clothing. Privacy and modesty are important concepts for humans, he explained. Our bodies are considered personal. Yun's skin flickered. Interesting. For Centaurians, honesty and transparency are most sacred. We hide nothing, physically or emotionally. Jun noticed how literally this was true. Through Yun's translucent skin, he could see the outline of her heart beating, multiple and smaller than a human's. Centaurians wore minimal coverings, typically just enough to carry tools or decorative items, showing their social status. "Is that why your buildings have no walls?" Jun asked. "Partly," Yun replied. "We believe separation creates misunderstanding. Only our research facilities have barriers to protect experiments." Their conversation was interrupted as Dr. Minji Lee entered, followed by two younger Centaurians whose skin glowed with excited orange patterns. "Commander," Minji said, barely containing her excitement, "Jin and Sue have been showing me their communication archives. They've recorded histories going back thousands of years." The two Centaurians bobbed their heads in greeting. Jin, the taller one, spoke while his skin displayed complex patterns. "We wish to share knowledge of stars. Your maps show gaps we can fill." This exchange of astronomical data had been a breakthrough. Both species had explored different sections of their shared galaxy, and combining their knowledge would advance both civilizations' understanding of space. "We're grateful," Jun said sincerely. "This kind of cooperation is exactly what we hoped for." Later that evening, as the humans gathered for dinner in their common tent, spirits were high. Science Officer Hyun couldn't stop talking about Centaurian biology. "Their cellular structure is amazing," she explained, gesturing with her fork. "Their translucent skin contains light-conducting fibers. They literally communicate through patterns of bioluminescence. That explains why they don't understand privacy the way we do," Ta Jun said. "They're always speaking through their skin, whether they intend to or not." Minji nodded thoughtfully. "Their whole society is built around transparency. Even their social hierarchy is based on who can display the most complex patterns. It's communication and art combined." Jun was about to respond when their tent flap opened. Yun entered, accompanied by three elder Centaurians whose skin displayed formal patterns in gold and deep blue. "Forgive interruption," Yun said. "The Council of Elders wishes to extend invitation." The oldest Centaurian stepped forward, skin glowing with authority. Through the translator, a deep voice emerged. "We have observed your respect for our ways. The time has come to include you in sacred ceremony. Tomorrow begins transparency gathering." Jun exchanged glances with his team before answering. "We would be honored. What does this ceremony involve?" The elder's skin rippled with what they had learned to recognize as pleasure. "It is time of complete truth between peoples. Barriers fall away. Secrets revealed. Bonds form that last generations." After the Centaurians left, the humans gathered in a tight circle. "This is huge," Minji whispered excitedly. The transparency gathering is mentioned in the data they shared, but details were sparse. It's their most important cultural event. "I'm concerned about what barriers fall away means," Ta Jun said, given their views on transparency. Minji's expression grew serious. "Their customs may challenge our comfort zones, but we can't refuse without causing offense." "I agree," Jun said. "We'll participate, but we should prepare ourselves. Minji, gather all the information you can about what to expect." Later that night, Jun couldn't sleep. Through his tent wall, he could see the lights of the Centaurian settlement pulsing with activity. They seemed excited about tomorrow's ceremony. A soft chime announced a visitor, and Minji entered, her face tense with concern. "I've been talking with Jin," she said without preamble. "The transparency ceremony is more complicated than we thought." "How so?" Jun sat up, fully alert now. "It involves a ritual they call Truth Before Union. Before the main ceremony, designated representatives meet privately to remove all barriers between them." "Remove barriers? You mean?" Minji nodded grimly. "Physical barriers. Clothing. It's symbolic for them. Showing they have nothing to hide before forming diplomatic ties." Jun ran a hand through his hair. "That's going to be a problem." "It gets more complex," Minji continued. "Refusing would be seen as declaring we have something to hide, essentially killing the diplomatic relationship before it starts." "Could we explain our cultural differences?" "I tried with Jin. They understand in theory, But this ceremony is fundamental to their value system. It would be like someone asking us to prove our peaceful intentions by handling their children with no supervision. We'd insist on our protocols. June paced the small tent. Who has to participate? You, as our leader, and possibly one other as witness. Me, as cultural expert. There has to be a compromise, June muttered. I'll keep working on it, Minji promised. But we should prepare for a challenging day tomorrow. After she left, June stared at the ceiling of his tent. First contact scenarios had always included the possibility of uncomfortable cultural differences, but the reality was more complex than any training could prepare them for. Outside, the unfamiliar stars of Proxima Centauri shone down on two civilizations about to face their first serious test of understanding. The humans had traveled across space, seeking new knowledge and friendship. Now they would discover the true price of interspecies diplomacy, and whether their own cultural boundaries were flexible enough to forge a lasting alliance. The night before the ceremony, Jun sat alone in his tent reviewing mission logs. The soft glow of his tablet illuminated his tired face as he documented the day's events. Despite Minji's warnings about the upcoming transparency ceremony, he hoped they could find a respectful compromise that wouldn't offend their hosts. A gentle breeze rustled the tent walls. The alien world's larger moon cast purple shadows across the floor. From the Centaurian settlement came distant musical sounds, preparations for tomorrow's important ritual. The quiet moment was broken by a soft chiming sound outside his tent, the Centaurian way of requesting entry. June set aside his tablet and straightened his uniform. "Come in," he called, expecting Minji with more information about the ceremony. The tent flap parted, and Yun entered. June's eyes widened in shock. The Centaurian diplomat stood completely unclothed, her translucent skin glowing faintly in the dim light of the tent. The patterns across her body pulsed with formal, ceremonial blues and golds. June jumped to his feet, quickly averting his eyes. "Yun, what are you doing?" He grabbed a blanket from his cot, holding it out without looking directly at her. "I am here for truth before union," Yun said calmly, making no move to take the offered covering. "This is how we begin the sacred path to diplomatic binding. All barriers must be removed." June kept his eyes fixed on the ground. "This isn't appropriate for humans," he stammered. "Please, take this blanket." Yun's skin flashed with confusion, the golden patterns dissolving into uncertain swirls of orange. "You reject our sacred custom." Her voice carried genuine hurt. "The elders have chosen you for highest honor." "It's not rejection," June tried to explain, still looking away. "Humans have different customs about uncovered bodies." Yun moved closer, her expression puzzled. "Your discomfort makes no sense. You have seen my body's outline through my skin since we met. What difference does the removal of small coverings make?" June struggled to find words that wouldn't cause offense. For humans, being unclothed together is intimate, reserved for mates or medical situations. Yun's skin now displayed mottled patterns of distress. "You think this is mating ritual? No, this is diplomatic trust building. Do humans hide their true selves from potential allies?" Before June could respond, the tent flap burst open. Minji rushed in, then stopped abruptly at the scene before her. Her eyes widened, but her anthropologist's training kicked in immediately. "Yun," she said calmly, "there's been a misunderstanding." "So I see," the Centaurian replied, her skin now flushing deep red with what they had learned was embarrassment. "Commander Park believes I offer mating." No, Minji said quickly. "It's more complex than that." She grabbed a second blanket from June's cot and gently wrapped it around Yun's shoulders. To June's relief, the Centaurian allowed this. Human and Centaurian concepts of propriety are fundamentally different, Minji explained to both of them. "For us, uncovered bodies carry meanings that don't align with your diplomatic intentions." Yun's skin gradually shifted back to calmer blues as understanding dawned. "You cover yourselves not to hide truth, but because exposure itself has different meaning." Exactly, Minji said. For humans, being unclothed with another person implies a level of intimacy that would make diplomatic discussions impossible. June finally looked up, meeting Yun's large eyes. I deeply respect your customs and the honor you've shown us. But this particular ritual creates a conflict with our own cultural values. Yun wrapped the blanket more securely around herself. The elders must know of this immediately. The ceremony cannot proceed with such fundamental misalignment. Wait, Minji said urgently. Please don't interpret this as rejection of alliance. We want to find a way forward that respects both our cultures. Yun paused at the tent entrance. I will speak with the council, but you must understand. Transparency is not optional for us. It is the foundation of all trust. After Yun left, Jun collapsed into his chair, face in his hands. That could have gone better. Actually, Minji said, sitting across from him, this might be the breakthrough we needed. Now we can have an honest conversation about our differences. If they don't decide we're too alien to bother with, Jun replied grimly. I don't think they will, Minji said. Did you notice Yun's skin patterns? Once she understood our perspective, she showed embarrassment, not anger. That suggests they value cross-cultural understanding. They didn't have long to wait. Within the hour, a delegation of 3 Centaurian elders arrived at their camp. The humans gathered to meet them, tension evident in their postures. The lead elder, whom they knew as Juan, stepped forward. His skin displayed complex patterns that the translator struggled to interpret. We have heard of tonight's difficulty, he said finally. Yun is distressed to have caused offense. No offense was taken, Jun assured him quickly. We recognize the honor intended. Juan's skin rippled thoughtfully. Since first contact with other species, we have faced such challenges. But never has the gap seemed so wide as with humans. Cultural differences don't have to be obstacles, Minji offered. They can be opportunities to grow. A second elder named Duri moved forward. Explain why covering is so important to humans. We must understand. Jun glanced at Minji, who nodded encouragingly. For humans, he began carefully. Our bodies are considered deeply personal. Showing them uncovered is an act of great vulnerability or intimacy. In diplomatic settings, we remain covered to maintain professional distance and focus on ideas rather than physical presence. The elders' skin rippled as they communicated silently among themselves. Finally, Juan spoke again. For Centaurians, coverings represent deception. What is hidden cannot be trusted. Our translucent bodies show our emotions without words. To cover this natural communication seems dishonest. I think I understand, Minji said. Your physical transparency is like our verbal honesty. For us, speaking truthfully fulfills the same function that showing your natural skin does for you. The third elder, Min, who had remained silent until now, displayed a sudden pattern of bright illumination across his skin. Perhaps compromise exists. If humans promise complete verbal transparency while maintaining physical coverings. Juan considered this. The spirit of the ritual might be preserved, even if the form changes. We can do that, Jun said earnestly. We came here to build honest relations between our peoples. As the elders departed to consult with their council, Ta-Jun approached Jun with concern. Sir, what exactly did we just agree to? Complete verbal transparency could compromise mission security. Jun shook his head. We've been authorized to share all non-classified information. That will have to be enough. The alternative is diplomatic failure. Through the night, both species wrestled with the implications of their cultural clash. For the humans, the incident revealed how deeply ingrained their assumptions about privacy were. For the Centaurians, it forced them to confront the possibility that transparency itself could have different meanings across species. As dawn broke over the alien landscape, neither side knew if the ceremony would proceed or if first contact would end in an impasse of incompatible cultural values. The morning came with 3 suns rising over the horizon. the large orange primary and its two smaller companions painting the alien sky in shades of gold and amber. Jun had barely slept. The cultural misunderstanding from the previous night weighed heavily on his mind. First contact missions had always anticipated challenges, but nothing in their training had prepared them for this particular situation. He emerged from his tent to find his team already gathered around their small cooking station. The mood was tense. No one mentioned the incident directly, but concerned glances were exchanged as they sipped their morning coffee. "Any word from the Centaurians?" Ta Jun asked, breaking the uncomfortable silence. "Nothing yet," Jun replied. "They're likely still in council." Minji approached with her tablet. "I've been reviewing all our data on their customs. Their entire social structure revolves around the concept of transparency. It's not just symbolic, it's fundamental to how they understand trust. Which puts us in a difficult position," Hyun added, frowning. "We can't simply adopt their practices without violating our own cultural boundaries." Jun was about to respond when he noticed movement from the Centaurian settlement. Hyun was approaching, accompanied by two elders. Unlike the previous night, all were wearing their typical minimal coverings. Hyun's skin displayed subdued patterns, the usual bright colors muted. The humans stood respectfully as the Centaurians arrived. For a moment, no one spoke. The translator hung in the air between them, waiting. "Good morning," Jun finally said. "We welcome you to our camp." Hyun stepped forward, her skin flickering with formal patterns. "The Council of Elders has discussed last night's difficulty. We request formal meeting to find path forward." "Of course," Jun agreed. "Would you prefer to meet in our common tent or in your settlement?" "Here," Hyun said, "on neutral ground, between our worlds." Soon, three humans, Jun, Minji, and Hyun, sat cross-legged on mats in a small clearing between the human camp and the Centaurian settlement. Across from them sat Hyun and three elders, their skin displaying the formal gold patterns that indicated official business. Wan, the eldest, spoke first. "In 5,000 cycles, Centaurians have contacted 12 other species. Each required adjustment of customs, but none have challenged the transparency ritual itself. We deeply regret the difficulty," Jun said. "Our intent is not to reject your customs, but to find a way to honor them while respecting our own." "I caused offense," Hyun said, her skin flushing with embarrassment. "I failed to understand the human concept of physical privacy." "No offense was taken," Minji assured her. "Cultural misunderstandings are inevitable in first contact situations." Elder Min, who had suggested compromise the night before, leaned forward. "The purpose of transparency ritual is to ensure neither side conceals danger or deception. If humans cannot participate in our traditional way, perhaps alternative exists." Jun nodded thoughtfully. "On Earth, different cultures have various ways of establishing trust. Some share food, others exchange gifts or make public promises. These are symbols," Elder Dury observed, skin patterns expressing skepticism. "How can you prove honesty without showing yourselves as you truly are?" Hyun, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke up. "May I offer a scientific perspective?" When the elders nodded, she continued, "Your species evolved transparency as a biological trait. It serves both communication and trust verification functions. Humans evolved differently. Our skin is opaque, but we developed complex verbal and facial expression systems to communicate honesty." "An interesting observation," Juan acknowledged. "You suggest different evolutionary paths to same goal." "Exactly," Minji built on Hyun's point. "For you, transparency is literal. For us, it's metaphorical, but no less important." A thoughtful ripple of colors passed through the Centaurians. They seemed to be communicating among themselves through skin patterns too subtle for the translator to capture. Finally, Hyun spoke. "What if we create new ritual? One that honors spirit of both cultures. What do you propose?" Jun asked, hope rising in his chest. For transparency ceremony to proceed, Two conditions must be met, Yun explained. First, complete openness. Second, nothing hidden between potential allies. June considered this. We can commit to complete verbal openness, sharing all non-classified information about our civilization, our intentions, and our understanding of the universe. Not enough, Elder Dury said firmly. Words can deceive. We need physical demonstration of trust. The conversation seemed at an impasse. Then Minji's eyes widened with sudden inspiration. What about transparent garments? Everyone turned to look at her. We could create special ceremonial clothing made from transparent material, she explained. Humans would remain covered according to our customs, but the transparency would honor Centaurian values. It would be a physical symbol of our commitment to openness. The Centaurian skin rippled with interest, colors shifting rapidly as they considered the idea. This might satisfy ceremonial requirements, Elder Huan said slowly. If the garments truly hide nothing, we could design them together, Hyun suggested, combining our textile technology with your understanding of transparency symbolism. For the first time since the previous night's incident, Yum's skin displayed bright patterns of optimism. A new ritual, born of both cultures. Neither side must abandon their values. Over the next 3 days, humans and Centaurians worked side by side creating special ceremonial garments. The humans contributed a lightweight, completely transparent polymer material from their scientific supplies. The Centaurians added ceremonial patterns using a bioluminescent substance that echoed their own skin communications. The morning of the ceremony arrived. June stood before his team, wearing the transparent ceremonial robe over his uniform. Though the material revealed the outline of his clothing beneath, it satisfied both the human need for covering and the Centaurian value of transparency. "How do I look?" he asked nervously. Like a diplomat bridging two worlds, Minji replied with a smile. When they arrived at the ceremonial grounds, they found the entire Centaurian community gathered in concentric circles. Yun stepped forward to meet them, her skin displaying formal patterns more complex than any they had seen before. "Today marks new beginning," she announced. "Not just alliance between species, but new understanding. Different paths to same destination." As June was led to the center of the circle, he realized that what had begun as an awkward misunderstanding had transformed into something profound. The compromise they had crafted wasn't just about clothing or cultural practices. It represented the essence of why humans had journeyed to the stars, to find new perspectives, to learn and grow, and to build bridges across the vast differences that initially separated them. The transparency ceremony began, not as either species had originally envisioned it, but as something new, the first truly collaborative creation of human and Centaurian cultures. 6 months had passed since the transparency ceremony. The human encampment had grown into a small settlement with permanent structures built in a style that blended Earth architecture with Centaurian design principles. Clear walls allowed light to pass through while providing the privacy humans needed, a physical representation of the cultural compromise they had achieved. June stood on a hill overlooking both communities, now connected by a well-worn path. He smiled as he watched human scientists walking alongside Centaurian researchers, their animated conversations visible even from a distance. "Enjoying the view?" Minji asked, joining him. "Just thinking about how far we've come," Jun replied. 6 months ago, we nearly caused a diplomatic incident over a cultural misunderstanding. And now we're preparing to sign the first official human-Centaurian cooperation treaty, Minji said. The council approved the final draft this morning. Behind them, a small transport ship descended through the atmosphere, carrying officials from Earth who would witness the historic signing ceremony. The ship's arrival marked the culmination of their first contact mission. "The ambassador brought something special for you," Minji said, handing June a small package. "Apparently your report on the transparency incident has become required reading at the Diplomatic Academy." June unwrapped the package to find a book titled Cross-Species Cultural Navigation, Case Studies in Extraterrestrial Diplomacy. His report was the first chapter. They're calling it a textbook example of how cultural misunderstandings can lead to deeper understanding, Minji explained. Later that afternoon, Jun met with Yun in what had become their regular meeting place, a small garden where plants from Earth grew alongside Centaurian flora. Over the months, their professional relationship had evolved into a genuine friendship. The treaty signing is tomorrow, Yun said, her skin displaying the relaxed blue patterns of casual conversation. Your people seem excited. As they should be, Jun replied. This agreement will benefit both our species for generations. Yun's skin rippled with amusement. Do you remember when I entered your tent without coverings? Your face turned almost as red as my embarrassment patterns. Jun laughed. Not my finest diplomatic moment. Yet it led to something important, Yun said thoughtfully. Before meeting humans, we believed transparency could only have one meaning. You showed us that shared values can take different forms. And you taught us that sometimes our discomfort comes from arbitrary cultural boundaries, not universal truths, Jun replied. As they spoke, Hyun approached with several Centaurian scientists. Over the past months, she had become fluent in reading their skin patterns, rarely needing the translator. We've completed the astronomical data merger, she announced proudly. Combined star charts from both our civilizations. 3,000 new systems mapped that neither of us had documented alone. One of the Centaurian scientists, Bin, displayed excited amber patterns across his skin, and 17 potential habitable worlds identified for future exploration. Together, we see more than either could alone. That evening, a feast was held to welcome the Earth delegation. Humans and Centaurians sat together at long tables, sharing foods from both worlds. The Earth ambassador, an older woman named Director Lee, watched with visible amazement. When we sent your team on this mission, Commander Park, she said quietly to Jun, we hoped for basic diplomatic relations. We never imagined this. She gestured to the scene around them. Human children playing with young Centaurians, scientists excitedly sharing discoveries, engineers discussing joint projects. It wasn't always smooth, Jun admitted. We had to overcome significant cultural hurdles. Director Lee nodded. I read your reports. The transparency incident could have ended the mission. Instead, you turned it into the foundation of a deeper relationship. How? Jun considered the question. We realized that understanding doesn't come from focusing on our similarities. It comes from respecting our differences enough to find creative compromises. Across the table, Elder Huan raised a ceremonial cup. The gathering fell silent. Tomorrow, we sign agreement between our worlds, the elder announced, his skin glowing with formal gold patterns. But true alliance was not built by leaders or documents. It was built by individuals who faced misunderstanding with curiosity instead of judgment. The elder's gaze moved to Jun and Yun. The incident we now call the transparency misunderstanding has become foundation of our relationship. It teaches all of us important lesson. True transparency is not about seeing all, but about understanding what we see. The next morning, humans and Centaurians gathered in the central plaza for the treaty signing. A special platform had been constructed, featuring symbols from both cultures. The document itself was written on a remarkable material, Centaurian crystal, embedded with Earth paper fibers, symbolizing the union of their technologies. As Jun and Yun stood as witnesses while their leaders signed the treaty, he reflected on their journey. What had begun with an awkward cultural clash had transformed into humanity's most important interstellar alliance. After the ceremony, as preparations began for the departure of the Earth delegation, Jun found himself standing again on the hilltop overlooking the two communities. Will you return to Earth with the others? Yun asked, joining him. No, Jun replied. I've been asked to stay as part of the permanent diplomatic team. If you can tolerate my continued cultural mistakes. Yun's skin displayed warm patterns of friendship. Your mistakes have proven more valuable than perfect understanding would have been. As they watched, a group of human scientists walked toward the Centaurian settlement, wearing the now standardized transparent outer robes that had become the symbol of their cooperation. Behind them, several Centaurians approached the human compound, each carefully respecting the privacy protocols they had learned. "Look at them," Jun said softly. Neither side trying to become the other, but each adapting to make connection possible. "The universe is vast," Yun replied, her skin rippling with philosophical blue-green. "If species cannot adapt to different perspectives, we remain alone among the stars." The three suns of Proxima Centauri cast long shadows across the landscape as the day drew to a close. In the distance, the Earth ship prepared for departure, carrying news of humanity's successful first alliance with an alien civilization. What had begun with a simple cultural misunderstanding, an alien entering a tent without coverings, had blossomed into something profound. A model for how different species could move past their initial shock at each other's differences to discover the universal values that connected them across the stars. Jun smiled as he watched the communities below, no longer separate but woven together, like the Earth-Centaurian Treaty document itself, distinct elements forming something stronger and more beautiful than either could achieve alone.